Hey everybody, back again. It's been a while. That's another video. But just got back from literally walked out 2 hours ago from seeing Rise of Skywalker. And because I'm a Star Wars dork and I've done some videos on this before and I've done some other things on the previous movies, written reviews, stuff like that. Just thought it'd be easiest and fastest to do a little video review and my thoughts on the movie because no one cares what random failed entrepreneur thinks, but it's fun to do, and being invested in Star Wars and done some things before, I thought I'd give my take. So just walked out of the movie Saturday, so I saw it like a day after it came out, and not in a bad way. The movie is okay. I don't know if a Star Wars movie is allowed to be okay, though. That's the problem. I'll try and hold off spoilers for as long as I can. I don't know how long. But as a whole, I guess it wasn't terrible. It's not as bad as Last Jedi. Not as good as Force Awakens. It just is. And that's a big part of this movie. It just is. It doesn't really add a whole lot to anything. As I was watching the movie, and especially at the end, and I think I've heard some other people say this in just the headlines of reviews. I haven't read any reviews yet, just kind of looked at some tweets and stuff like that. It just doesn't add anything to the story, right? Force Awakens set up some interesting questions and new characters and a new kind of status quo for the universe. And that was interesting at the time. Last Jedi, of course, threw that baby out with the bathwater. And so this movie kind of is scrambling, and that's what a lot of people are kind of saying. It sounds like trying to kind of recorrect the course from what Last Jedi did. And that will be a huge part of this review going forward. But I do agree. It just kind of finished, we got to end the trilogy. We got to tie up all those loose ends we didn't have time to develop before. And so it does it in a okay way. But for as big as the stakes are, and you could actually argue when we get into spoilers, the stakes probably have never been higher. It feels as incredibly small, right? And that's just, I think that's a screenwriting problem, right? Just, bigger isn't always better. And this movie decides to go as big as possible, and to its detriment, it ends up kind of falling as flat as can be. Spoilers. I'm not going to get into spoilers yet. They're coming. But anyway, so that's that. It's the final end to this trilogy, right? Like I said, it ties up the loose ends. It doesn't elevate the trilogy in any way. I hate to say it, but I gotta put this now kind of on prequel levels. I don't really love or hate the prequels; they just exist. And unfortunately, I love Force Awakens, but this kind of next trilogy just kind of exists now. It doesn't, like I said, it really doesn't add anything to the story visually. Of course, it looks great because J.J. Abrams is pretty good when it comes to making movies look slick. It's got a lot of callbacks to stuff in Force Awakens, Last Jedi in a funny way, which I did kind of like, and some other little small throwbacks as well. A lot of fan service, you could say, which is cool, but really, like I said, it doesn't really add to the story. The movie is very long. It felt long, but it didn't drag, because this movie is just quickly jumping from one planet to another planet. There's really no time to slow down, which is a good call, because we don't want any, stagnant 30-minute casino go nowhere scenes. That doesn't happen here, but it kind of goes too fast, I think, because things are always just happening. There's a new crisis to go to, a new planet to go to, someone new to meet, and as soon as we're there, we're gone and going somewhere else. It's kind of intergalactic hopscotch is kind of what this movie is. We got answers to questions. A lot of the things that were set up in Force Awakens were, I guess, answered here, but they just are so kind of hollow. Because this story is literally missing its middle act, right? You're missing the middle arc of the story. And so it's really like a two-parter. Again, and I said this from like the get-go. You could, my theory was you could take Last Jedi out and just watch episode 7 into 9, and you really wouldn't miss much. And the story would still be pretty seamless. And that is kind of the case. Like I said, a lot of stuff that happened in Last Jedi doesn't have really any impact on this. It even makes a couple jabs at Last Jedi, which I thought was funny. The theater I was in was incredibly small, like 30, 40 people. That's the max. Weird experience watching it in like an almost empty full theater, because there was a weird theater here in Scottsdale. But anyway, can I get into spoilers now, right? Or talk about the movie? We're almost 6 minutes in. I can only bite my tongue for so long. So, yeah, we'll get this. If I say spoilers now, don't get mad, because it's going to happen sooner or later, right? Palpatine. What the heck was he doing here? Now, I didn't see any spoilers leading up to this. I heard the script had leaked on the internet. I tried to stay away. So I did come into this movie kind of with virgin eyes and really just not, only really saw what was in the trailers and commercials and stuff like that. But Palpatine is such a throwaway waste. He doesn't do anything. And I guess my big problem I have, like I said, this story doesn't add anything to Star Wars. It just exists, right? Like the original trilogy, there's 3 movies, all awesome movies, and they tell a cohesive story, right? It's all about Luke and his journey, right? The hero's journey, growing up to become a Jedi, and we find out in the shadow of his father, and the rebels, and overcoming these insurmountable odds to defeat the Empire, and the Emperor. We don't know much about him. Really, in the original trilogy, we know very little about the guy, but just and so much about Vader, and there's actually a lot going on in the original trilogy, and it builds to a satisfying conclusion, right? Hooray, that's good. That's what you're supposed to do. Prequels is a little different, right? We kind of know how that story ends, but it's the journey, and it's kind of the rise and fall of Anakin Skywalker, and the birth of the Empire, and maybe like the fall of Palpatine, but he was always bad from the beginning. But even then, right, there's an arc, and it's going somewhere, right? And even when we get to the end, and Anakin turns into Vader, been waiting for it for 3 movies, it's satisfying to an extent, right? This new trilogy doesn't go anywhere. It's just rehashing old things from the past. Did Palpatine really need to come back in this movie? Why? What is he trying to do? He doesn't even say, right? He's not trying to turn Luke to the dark side. He's not trying to, take the galaxy over, because it's just like a foregone conclusion that he will. Like, it's just, there's no stakes. That's a huge problem for this movie. There's really no big stakes, right? There's just crises, but they have no meaning to them. We just saw the Republic get blown away in Force Awakens, and it never really got explored in Last Jedi. Doesn't really get explored here. It's just really from the opening crawl, right? We're just, hey, bam, Palpatine's back, baby, and he's doing all those old things again. Why? No one knows, and no one questions, and no one cares. Palpatine is just a cartoon. He always was cartoonish. I get that, but he wants his power for the sake of having power, right? I mean, I guess in the original trilogy, the rebels were in his way, and he was so close to having this iron grip control over everything, and then Luke kind of comes out of nowhere and throws a monkey wrench in his plan. So he's got some foils or adversaries. And this one, like, the resistance is so weak, and the resistance is just so non-credible. Even in this movie, I thought they might try and buff them up a little bit. No, it's really just a handful of stragglers hiding in the jungle, and that's like all they are. And somehow they're still able to like outwit and outrun and outmaneuver the First Order, which makes no sense. And the First Order, even though they're not like as large as the Empire ever was, in theory, they sure look like it and they sure act like it, but they didn't really kind of earn it. They're just this kind of omnipresent, always bad guys, and they really, First Order really doesn't do a lot in this movie, right? And then Palpatine comes back, and he's trying to, I guess, come back to life, but he's already alive, and he wants all this power, but he's got this huge fleet of thousands of Star Destroyers that were just in like hibernation for 30 years, and the crews on there were just okay to live on a Star Destroyer. Makes no sense. It just randomly, literally like the first scene, this giant fleet just appears out of nowhere, and each Star Destroyer has like a Death Star cannon on it. So we jump the Death Star shark, right? Star Killer, who cares about Star Killer? Now we have thousands of little mini Death Stars going all across the galaxy, blowing everything up, because again, the Empire, Palpatine, it's got no new ideas, and that's like the threat, but it's so overblown, and it's just so numerically like, if it was just like one Star Destroyer or a pair with, even that's a huge thing, but it's just 1,000. It's just like, who cares? Whatever, let's just go big with numbers to make it such a big threat, and it's tiny little resistance against. It's just so unplausible. It's not entertaining. Like your sense of belief is kind of gone. It's like, well, the odds are just so twisted again. It's just so dumb. What else was I gonna say? Rey was kind of interesting in the movie, right? Because she kind of like really has a couple moments where she like embraces her dark side, which is interesting, which would like to see, right? That's something that's kind of new. When she shoots Force lightning out, kind of kills Chewbacca. I laughed. I was like, this is interesting. This is cool. Now she's a character, right? Who, this is kind of cool, right? She's got some dark side ability, whatever it is. It's just anything. Give us anything to make Rey interesting, and it was. And there's a couple times she's got a little bit of anger in her because she's a Palpatine, which adds nothing to her, right? Like, again, what's the point? Why? Palpatine had a secret hidden son, and just like Luke, right? They had a child and they had to keep it hidden from Palpatine, and so like the first two movies, there's no hints at all, right? There was no build up to that. Even in Star Wars and Empire, there's a slow reveal. It makes sense. This year, it's like we gotta do something. Okay, she's a Palpatine, whatnot, and so it's like, why? It just doesn't. It explains kind of why she's got the dark side powers. Doesn't make her that more. I think it'd be more interesting if she was a Skywalker, or if she was like the reincarnation of Anakin, or if she was, Obi-Wan's illegitimate daughter. Something that would be kind of more interesting and have more weight to the story. But just kind of being like a failed Palpatine 2.0. We already got a rebooted Palpatine. We don't need another Rey, and it's just like it explains her backstory, but it really doesn't add that much to it. Anakin Skywalker, I'm a dork. They got that balance, that turmoil, the fight between light and dark, and we don't need. Again, it's kind of like we're going to go big or go home, right? Well, what's worse than Darth Vader? Palpatine. She's related to Palpatine, so ultimate evil, right? It's just kind of weightless. It doesn't really do anything. But the movie's got there's a couple twists, there's a couple surprises. It's definitely worth seeing just to kind of see some of those things. When she kills Kylo Ren. It's like, that, when she kills Chewie with the lightning, I like that. I kind of laughed at that. When she ends up killing Kylo Ren, I like that. You go, wow, whoa, we got a lot of movie left, and he's dead. That's interesting. That's cool. When she kind of fights her evil self in the throwback to the Empire, that was kind of interesting. And so there's a couple of flashes when they try some different takes on things, which is, it's just, I appreciate being different, but it's just not enough, right? And then Kylo Ren ends up turning to the light side again, and kind of saw, he was kind of built up in a way. He's got that struggle between him, and I couldn't imagine him just staying evil the entire time. There's got to be a way he redeems himself. But how do you redeem yourself after you kind of killed your father and stuff? How is that possible? They did. I like that. There's a cameo by Han Solo in the movie. He comes back, not as a Force ghost, but kind of Kylo Ren is his memory or his vision of his dad. Han Solo forgives him for killing him off in Force Awakens, and if you're going to redeem him, that's probably the best way of doing it. That kind of works a little bit. He throws his lightsaber into the ocean and kind of embraces the light side with a little help from Leia, who turns out Leia, I guess, maybe not a Jedi Master, but Leia, I guess, has been training. Luke did train her in the movie. She's got her own lightsaber. That explains the Leia popping scenes in Last Jedi, so that makes a bit more sense now. And my favorite scene in the movie literally lasts like 7 or 8 seconds, but there's a little flashback to when Luke and Leia were training, or Luke was training Leia in the jungle with lightsabers. They got their little blast shield helmets down, and for a brief second, like, Luke opens his up and we see a de-aged Luke lightsaber in hand, and then Leia opens up her mask and a de-aged Leia again. How many times are we gonna see that? Kind of trained. It's kind of like it's the EU we never got, right? Or it's the movies we never got with like a young Leia and Luke, lightsabers in hand, doing Jedi things, and it looked cool, and it was like, wow, that was really cool to see. And then just like that, it's gone. I know they're old and that has passed, but it's kind of like, man, that I would love to see a movie with age appropriate Luke and Leia doing Jedi. That was cool to see. That was my favorite part. 8 seconds of the movie, right? Totally rambling here. Sorry. The space battle at the end. Had high hopes seeing some of the stuff from the trailer, but there's really not a lot of emphasis put on that. And if you know me, like, that's my favorite part of Star Wars is the space battles. I hate to say it, still 30 years later, still the space battle at Return of the Jedi is the best one done. Rogue One is a close number 2, but unfortunately, even though the stakes are huge and there's Star Destroyers as far as the eye can see, the space battles it's weak. It's pretty weak. There's just no time put on it. What a waste. That was such a wasted opportunity. Speaking of wasted opportunities, and a big beef I have is the total absence of Darth Vader in this movie, in this trilogy, right? He's kind of hinted at, and Kylo's got a Vader fetish in the first one, and he's gonna kind of, I don't know, why Vader is such a central character to these movies. And Anakin is a ghost we saw after Return of the Jedi, but for whatever reason they don't explain it unless it's in some book I'm not going to read. Anakin's ghost is MIA, right? And Vader really isn't mentioned that much in the movie for all the things he did and how important he is to so many of these characters. He is nowhere to be seen, and that's such a waste. Again, opportunity. Let's see Anakin's Force ghost, or let's see. It's so weird to have Vader, who's so central to all the movies, just totally be sucked out of here and have no effect on the story, no effect on the characters. It's just, and I think if there was, that might make him feel more connected to the previous Star Wars movies, but just that absence of Vader I think that's a misfire, and like I said, it makes these movies feel a little disjointed and kind of unconnected, right? It's good to see Lando back. He's still kind of got the hots for Leia, and wish he would have been back sooner, but hey, better late than never. And so that was good to see. What else? It's just a lot of, I think people will look back on this trilogy and just be, man, what a lot of wasted opportunities, especially now with, The Mandalorian on TV and how that's been accepted for kind of doing Star Wars the right way. And you can do new things with Star Wars, and, the well is not empty. You just got to make sure you do it in the right way. And I guess at the end of the day, I'm just kind of glad that it's over now. I don't know where the franchise goes from here. They're talking about doing like an Old Republic series of movies, or maybe jumping into the future. And it's whatever it is. You can't. No more Palpatine. No more Empire. No more Skywalkers. Like, it is just done and dead. And whatever opportunities they had to do something with that, it's just kind of wasted. And again, just to finish off here, because it's going on 20 minutes, and I hate doing it because I'm a broken record, but Last Jedi really, really fucked things over, because by taking out the middle part of the story and not having, these characters, again, there's no connection to Rey. There's very little connection to Finn and Poe, because again, we haven't spent that much time with them. Last Jedi was such a throwaway. It does so little that, it's kind of, had we had a second movie where we spent more time with these characters and watched them fail and watched them grow, and it was connected to the story at large, it advanced things instead of treading water going nowhere, maybe Last Skywalker would have ended on some higher notes. But really, this whole movie, and at fast pace, it's just playing catch up to try and finish, right? We got 2.5 hours to finish all this up. So here's all the stops along the way, and at the end we're kind of done, but there's not much to it. Frustrating. But anyway, do I recommend seeing it? Yeah, because people are gonna be talking about it, and it's if you're a Star Wars person, you're gonna see it because obviously you like Star Wars, and maybe you like it more than me. I don't hate the movie, but it just has no purpose. It really doesn't. We could have kept it at end of Return of the Jedi. There's no reason to have Rey. Palpatine coming back serves no purpose. The First Order is totally useless, and some extra planets have been destroyed. It's just, it hurts to say it was just a waste. It was a wasted opportunity. They didn't know where they were going, and man, I don't know how that's possible, but it is what it is. And kind of the feeling I have, like at the end of Revenge of the Sith, it's just kind of, it's done, and that's about all I can say, right? It's done, and that's all. So anyway, man, it's done. Okay, just like this video is done. Thanks for sticking around if you did, and I will be trying to make some more videos in the future. I know I've been gone for a while to my 9 subscribers, and I'll explain later. But anyway, I just want to do this now because, again, I'm a Star Wars dork and wanted to get it out there while still hot off the presses. So, all right, I'll catch you later. I got things to do. I know you do too, and I'll catch you later.